So, welcome back. Now that we've gotten most of R2D2's leg constructed, we're probably going to do one of the hardest pieces to construct, which is going to be, if we look from the front view and go to X-ray, for example, it's going to be these little cables that are connected to the feet. So we're going to have to go ahead and construct those. So we're going to go into perspective, turn off X-ray mode, and then take all the pieces that we're not going to be hiding. So take the head, H, body, hide, rest of it hide. So now all we have is the little foot that we're going to be working on. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to use some spline shapes so we can actually build the main shape of the cables we're working on. So to do that, I'm going to go ahead and do Shift A, and then I'm going to create a curve, a Bezier curve, and as you can see, that's exactly what's been created me on inside the space. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to rotate it towards an angle that's a little bit more favorable, because if not, then it takes a lot of tweaking, and I really don't want to spend my time tweaking something when I could just easily just flip it like this. So I'm going to take it and flip it onto its side. Yes. Yes, and like that. And a little bit like this. Cool. And then after I do that, first thing you're going to see is I'm going to take the shape and I'm going to move it a little bit closer to this piece right here that I'm working on. And I'm going to bring it up and forward. And then as you can see, when I go to front view, Alt C, I have my shape, and I'm going to be basically trying to construct this shape that I have right here. So if you can see, there's one connection point right there at the bottom and another one a little bit bottom above the foot. So that's what I'm going to be more or less aiming for. It's not one of those things, of course, you can take your time and try to do exactly as it is, but this is just for demonstration purposes. So I'm just going to do it quick and dirty so you kind of have an idea how it works. So I'm going to take my Bezier shape and go to edit mode. And then as you can see, they have these two little points right here. These are the Bezier control points. So if you look, when I take these and rotate it, for example, it starts to change the shape of the curve. So the main way you're going to adjust these shapes is going to be either to move, rotate, or scale. And when I scale it on the green axis, it's taking and reducing the size of my curve, and I'm going to bring this curve inside here, turn off X-ray mode, bring this a little bit closer here, and I'm probably going to have to take and rotate this because it's going to have this sort of forward look to it and such. So that's the first point. I'm going to select the second point, which is a little bit far behind here, so I'm going to take that and move that forward, rotate it this way, see how it looks, just to take it out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this shape, rotate it to this degree like this. No, actually like this, because that's how it's going to be inserted inside the shape of the mesh. And then I'm going to take this and scale this. That's good. And then I'm going to go and move this right over here. Kind of more or less the place where the two pieces meet. So as you can see, this one right here is not quite in, so I'm going to select that one, push it in, and as you can see, I have the makings of the shape. So one thing I discovered, at least when I was making this the first time, that when you make a Bezier curve, it has these first two initial shapes and such, and you need one more of these little controllers right here to be able to control this a little bit better. So I'm going to take this shape right here and move it a little bit closer to the center, because that's what it's going to be used. And then when I have it selected, if I press E, as you can see, Bezier just created a new Bezier shape, pushed it forward. So obviously I'm going to have to do some adjustment to sort of fix where it needs to be. So I'm going to lower it down, and I am going to go ahead and scale this on this axis. So some of the curve right here is taken away. And this one right here, as you can see, needs a little adjustment. So I'm going to take this, rotate it to this degree, this axis, and then I have to rotate it there. And I'm going to scale it a little bit here. So the dramatic shape of that curve has been removed. And then right here, as you can see, it's done all sort of crazy things. So as you can see, this is going to take a lot of adjustment. So it's going to be up to you to figure out. So I'm going to go into the front view, Alt Z to see where I'm working on, and I'm kind of going to move these shapes so they kind of coincide with the shape of what I'm working on. So it's right there, at least in the front perspective. That one, this one goes right up here. Rotate that so that's a little cleaner. And take this one, move it here. And let's see. Alt-Z to get rid of that. And this curve right here is going a little bit much too forward. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate it like this. And then I am going to scale it on the green axis so it reduces the size of the curve. So as you can see now, it's kind of in the more or less the right position of where this should be. I'm not trying to go for too much accuracy. So the next part I'm going to do is I'm going to save. And then I'm going to go Shift A. Nope, sorry. I'm going to get out of edit mode, go into object, unclick, go hit Shift A, create curve, and I'm going to hit a circle. And this circle right here is going to give you the overall shape of the tube. So right now, I think the resolution is a bit too much. So I'm going to go up to right here on this little menu right here that it says object data. And on the resolution, right up here, right on the 3D, if you see now, when I start to reduce that, it starts to reduce the resolution. So I'm going to go ahead and keep it at 2, which has 8 sides. Let me see, maybe 1 could actually work. No, it's going to have to be 2 to give me the right resolution. Cool. And then I'm going to go ahead and take my scale, uniform scale it, so it's basically the thickness of that cable that's going to be. So as you can see now, I scaled it non-uniform, so just make sure to hold on to the white gizmo, scale it, and then once that's, that's a pretty good, let's scale it a tiny bit more, which I can't see, but that's good. Okay, so once that's done, you select the original spline that you created, and right here under object data, you go down and you find bevel. And when you hit click on object, you can just click on that and voila. As you can see, you have the initial first makings of your shape. So the first thing that I can tell you, at least the amount of sides is correct and the thickness is a bit too much. So if I go back to the original shape here, if I take that and scale it, if you watch the cable, there you go, it's going to get a little smaller. That's a little bit closer to how it is in the actual drawing and such. Like I said, I'm not going for too much accuracy, just get it done. And then I'll come right here, I'll go to edit mode, select the first Bezier curve here, bring that forward so it's actually inserted into the shape, and do the same here. So as you can see, has some sort of alignment that resembles that. It's not too shabby. I'm just going to go ahead and take this one, lower it here. And let's see if there's anything that can be done about the beginning. It looks from the front. Let's see if it's possible. I think that's the tricky thing about getting concepts or pictures from online. It's not necessarily going to match your purposes necessarily. So I'm just going to take this and bring this a little bit more inside. That's good. As you can see, there's a little bit of intersection. So I'm going to take this gizmo right here and scale that. And move that Bezier curve a little bit more. So the only thing I can tell you from this now is probably the amount. It probably has 8 sides like I want it. So sorry, a little bit more adjustment here. Cool. And then after that's done, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to change the resolution of this, because I can tell you right now this is probably too high poly. So if I go up to this resolution right here, start to lower that, as you can see, boop, 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 boop. That's a little bit more appropriate for how we're looking for games. So after that looks good, make sure to save your file. Right click on the get out of edit mode. And when you get out of edit mode into object mode, if you go to right here, right click on it, it says convert to mesh. Now it's actually been converted into a mesh that you can use. And as you can see, when I go to edit, now it's a reasonably decent low poly cable to use on R2D2's foot and such. So I'm going to go ahead and hit save, and I'll take his, go to edit mode, I'll go to select this, hide the foot, and then naturally I'm going to get rid of those faces that I'm not going to be using. So on this occasion, I'm going to go to edit mode, and no, they're not there. Good. 3D Studio Max, whenever you do this, they're there. So that's good. So hit Alt H outside of edit mode, everything comes back, and then you're going to take your foot right here, hold shift to hold the cable, and then if you press Control J, as you can see now, it's one mesh. So you're going to use that technique that I just showed you to do the cables. You're going to do the second one, and after you do the second one, we're going to go ahead and move on towards the next step. If you have any questions at this point, just go ahead and find me on Zoom or contact me, and I'll try to help as much as possible. So I will see you in part 11.